Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. I hope that you guys are doing awesome. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about Maya for 3D work and the Hulk model that I found from Marvel's Avengers, the latest Marvel Avenger movies that came out. So many of you might be asking, well, you were working in Blender and trying to learn that. Why did you jump over to Maya? Well, this particular model that I found was created with Maya in mind. This model, you could manipulate the fingers, manipulate the eyes, and not to mention the complete face. So you could move around the mouth. Facial structure could be manipulated to reflect disposition, and that was all kind of baked into this project. And I wasn't seeing any of that in Blender, so I don't own Maya, and Maya, if you guys have ever checked it out, that's a subscription-based service now, and it gets pretty pricey. So what they were offering is a month trial, basically, to be able to work with the software and kind of give it a test drive. So I was like, well, I already am familiar with Cinema 4D, and I'm starting out with Blender, and I'm learning and I'm getting my bearings with that. Why not try Maya out? You know, start to round out my familiarity with a few of these programs. So that's what I decided to do. I downloaded Maya and opened the whole character in this software. And boy, I mean, you want to talk about a learning curve and figuring it out and having to watch a lot of tutorials. Oh my goodness. Now, depending on what you're trying to do with the character, I was trying to do something very specific with this character. I wanted him to kind of like be silhouetted to some degree, and then just kind of like do the Hulk pose and like he was raging out. It was my intent to keep this video pretty short, 10 seconds, no longer, and achieve this particular animation in this new program. So one thing that I noticed right off the bat jumping into Maya was how convoluted this software is. I mean, for every, let's say, button or drop down that there is in Blender, this was the bigger, more complex, nuanced brother or sister of that software. I mean, one button on Blender was like 15 buttons in Maya. Now, I'm all for being able to get really granular and dialed into very specific and precise needs, but this was just way more than I bargained for. I was like, I don't even, this UI is making me uncomfortable just looking at it. So if you've never worked on it before and you're hoping to do some 3D animation, I would recommend that you start with the open source software, Blender, and then maybe as you get really well versed in that, slide on over to others like Maya, which are much more complex and much more layered for the average user that's just starting out in 3D animation, or any animation for that matter. Shout out to the creator that made this model completely customizable and the most user-friendly in Maya, where you got all the capabilities, but not the most user-friendly with regards to being able to manipulate and learn, and you were a novice learning this particular skill set. So I found myself working with Maya, doing the project that I had envisioned. Where I was really struggling is that, like I mentioned, just about every piece of this model was adjustable and something you can manipulate, even to the fingers. Now this was different for me because the other models that I had worked with, I hadn't had to get so granular, as I mentioned, and I wanted a clenched fist on this project for our Hulk character. And what I was finding is that even the digits were you could manipulate one by one. Each of the fingers had bone structure. The face completely rigged. As I mentioned, you could change disposition. I didn't learn that till the end of the project, and you guys can see here that this was the control that I was talking about. And also moving it in 3D space with a complete rig was something that I hadn't done before. I was going to challenge myself to do the motion that I had envisioned. So what was that going to take? Well, I couldn't rely on a program like I had done in the past, like Mixamo, or for those that are on PC, there are others that are pretty robust as well, that give you a different repository separate from Mixamo, that give pre-made animations that might lend themselves to the project that you're already doing. So those different websites that allow for pre-baked animation, I guess you could call it, save you so much time, and they're so intuitive and incredible, and I'm so elated that I was able to use those in previous projects. But for this one, I couldn't find something that matched exactly what I was looking for, so I figured this was as good a time as any to try to rig it from zero. And that proved to be quite the challenge. Not only that, once I thought I had, some movement in the legs, and physics is all baked in here too. You got to really understand how characters move in 3D space, how somebody's walk would be affected by their weight and gravity, and how things lay, and then on top of that, what you want your audience to see. So the camera placement and movement was really going to dictate what the final result was going to be. I got the project to where I thought it was pretty close, and once I rendered that out, I noticed that my whole character was barely moving at all. And then I tried to bake in some show business, basically covering the character in the shadows, as you will see here, and hiding them in the shadows in the hopes that getting close-ups and showing certain details in the face and maybe some close-up details of the body would help sell the effect that I was originally going for. And this was kind of the end result. This is a project that I'd love to jump back into and give it a little bit more time. The limit of time that I kind of afforded myself for this project was very compressed, and even then I probably spent a better part of a week focused on this, trying to learn Maya and seeing what other 3D creators had done. And I can't stress this enough. My hat goes off to all of the 3D creators that are working in visual effects and doing this stuff daily, because you guys are doing some incredible things. Now, that doesn't even touch upon the newer advents of AI and how that is getting filtered into animation and video creation and graphic design and things like that. That's a whole separate realm, and I believe that all of that evolution, you'll end up becoming a specialist in AI, but be able to focus on an aspect of the process that I would say you enjoy the most. In a perfect world, anyway, that's what would happen. Now, I also am of the belief that this will all get compressed very quickly, and a lot of those specialists will end up being people like me that start to learn every phase of production, from pre-production and scheduling to some finance components, which is like, I know a lot of creatives, they're like, that's crazy, don't talk like that. But you know, you have to be more well-rounded. You have to be familiar with every phase of production if you want to be well-versed in making creative content. It just goes with the territory. It's part of what all of this is, and I think that it'll help you down the road, because what I've noticed is that a lot of people that work in the creative space, they have their pet projects and things that they really want to get off the ground. And the more that you know and can articulate and convey to a group of creatives or a group of financiers, the better off that you're going to be. So I encourage you to learn as much as you can as time permits. We all lead very busy lives, but learning all of these new advancements in technology is going to help you in the long run. All of that will filter into your specialty, whether it be video editing, like I said, or, you know, hairdressing. It's all going to have touch points with the future of what this is all going to be. And maybe a project that you wanted to produce for the longest time that was going to take, you know, 300 people to build could be super hyper scaled back now, and you'll get that chance. So my encouragement always is to tell your story, get your story together, get this crew of fantastic creatives, of people that you want to work with, that you trust, and see what you can do. All that to say, this is a new game. It's like we're starting from ground zero, the bottom floor. This elevator is going to take off very quickly. So for the whole project, I'll say this one is partially done. Overall, I felt Maya was a little bit too complex for the needs that I have. I do want to continue to make 3D models and 3D animation and content in the 3D space, but for the needs that I have would take a lot more time to really learn the bells and whistles of what the software can offer. So for those of you that are starting out, I encourage you start out at Blender, which is free to use. If you can come across Cinema 4D, that is even a little bit easier than Maya. And if you have the need to really go super complex, very nuanced characters or design, you'll find your way into Maya and other software like that. So that's kind of like my grade overall, and that was my foray into Maya. Thank you guys all for watching again. We'll see you on the next one, where we're going to talk a little bit about Epic Games and Unreal Engine. Thanks so much.